Jiangsu funeral homes overwhelmed, surge in cancer and tragic falls. Growing danger, Chinese citizens report bad news on first day of work. On eve of two sessions, slogans hinting at anti-Xi, anti-communist appear across regions. CCP's call to buy houses now or regret for 5 years met with mockery. Seawater rice mixed with freshwater, CCP's diverse agricultural frauds. CCP escalates provocation again, mandatory inspection of Taiwanese cruise ship sparks controversy. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Jiangsu funeral homes overwhelmed, surge in cancer and tragic falls. The opening of the news bulletin continues with an update on the epidemic situation in mainland China. During the Chinese New Year, China faced another outbreak. Lately, a spike in sudden deaths has been reported in various Jiangsu cities, with heart attacks, strokes, and brain hemorrhages becoming more common, pushing Yanqing's funeral homes to be overwhelmed. One resident from Suzhou, Jiangsu province, disclosed to NTD television that an alarming number of his colleagues and friends have been diagnosed with cancer, including young adults in their prime, which is highly unusual, leading to suspicion that these may be sequelae of COVID-19. Now, any fever or cold is likely COVID-related, though such terms are no longer used. Other Jiangsu residents have noticed a resurgence of the outbreak, with hospitals overwhelmed and a dire shortage of beds. Many infected people didn't get the necessary treatment in time, leading to numerous deaths that went largely unnoticed. Yet, the official stance appears to downplay the severity. Notably, Mr. Wang He from Yanqing, Jiangsu province, highlighted the mental health crisis exacerbated by the pandemic. He remarked on the delay in the school year's start, which used to begin early in the lunar month but was postponed this year. He added that in one Suzhou high school alone, 4 students died last year, with possibly the highest incidence in Nantong. The immense pressure from families and schools reflects a broader societal issue. People are living in extreme tension, many in dire poverty, leaving children struggling without hope. Growing danger, Chinese citizens report bad news on first day of work. Following the Chinese New Year holiday, social media in China was flooded with reports from netizens who were unexpectedly fired on their first day back at work. Others discovered their employers were shutting down businesses, and some even returned to find their bosses missing in action, leading to speculation among co-workers that the company had simply dissolved. While some individuals shared that they were assigned to government hotlines on the first day back, fielding calls solely focused on labor disputes, unpaid wages, and wrongful terminations. Some netizens claimed that the situation essentially amounted to companies luring employees back only to abscond without paying severance, thereby avoiding complications, precipitating a surge in company closures and unemployment, and following a stock market crash, company closures are inevitable. Although a market crash might be mitigated, there's no salvaging a closure wave. Predictions are grim for China's unemployment rates in 2024, or the Year of the Dragon, mirroring the deepening crisis within the Chinese economy. Despite official narratives painting a rosy picture, as previously reported, Wuhan University's sociology professor Liu Duan issued a cautionary note in a WeChat post dated the 18th, outlining 3 significant threats to the Chinese economy: neglect, shifting from tangible to speculative activities, and aimless interference. Liu's fieldwork in rural areas led to an article outlining the broad effects of China's economic slump. Industrial zones and factories are underperforming, with some still getting orders but seeing their profits shrink. Migrant workers have lost their leverage to negotiate wages. Previously, complaints about unpaid overtime could lead to protests, but now, any grievance results in instant termination. Meanwhile, Liu's survey of several towns showed local governments barely keeping afloat, with some officials unable to pay their employees. Town leaders agreed that development was off the table, focusing instead on mere survival. Liu also pointed out the major problem of societal stagnation, where political correctness trumps actual business sense, the media avoids covering the real issues, and migrant workers feel increasingly uneasy. He mentioned a case where a highly paid technician couldn't solve basic problems, always calling for outside help for minor issues. However, Liu's post about his research was completely removed from mainland social media sites after 2 days. Peng Peng, speaking to the South China Morning Post, stated that solving these issues requires action from the highest levels of government. He warned that if the economy doesn't pick up after the National Two sessions in March and policies remain unchanged, the consequences could be severe, if not catastrophic. On eve of 2 sessions, slogans hinting at anti-Xi, anti-communist appear across regions. With the Chinese Communist Party's National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference just under 2 weeks away, various parts of China have witnessed the rise of anti-driver slogans that have attracted significant attention. The term driver is a metaphor referring to the CCP's leadership apparatus, designed to circumvent the regime's rigorous censorship. A January 20 post by the social media account Teacherly is not your teacher on Platform X highlighted graffiti in Xi'an that read, "Ban National People's Congress delegates from being more than 40% drivers, ban drivers from leading the country, ban drivers from making policy." The sign-off was Pedestrian Party. Another message read, "Against Driver Sovereignty Society, boycott the adjudication rights of drivers, signed China's Wise Movement." Netizens have taken notice of this post. Comments include, "So this is essentially calling for Xi Jinping to resign, isn't it?" Mentioning Xi Jinping is off-limits because people would disappear, drivers, apparently the enemy of the people, ban re-election for elementary school PhDs, I wonder if other cities will join in. Yet, some netizens noted that to evade CCP censorship and arrests, the metaphor has become so cryptic it's hard to decipher. Initially, I thought it genuinely concerned pedestrians until I had an epiphany about its deeper meaning. This isn't the first instance of such graffiti. On January 28 this year, someone going by Lonely Sewing penned my rights on a wall near the provincial sports stadium on Xi'an Metro Line 2. If I'm bullied or disturbed by a car, I reserve the right to smash it. If I can't find, recall, or catch up with the offending car, I'm entitled to take out my frustration on other cars. I have the right to insist that National People's Congress delegates consist of no more than 40% drivers. I have the right to pedestrian zones free from encroachment. I have the right to call for a ban on drivers leading the country. I have the right not to be hit by objects falling from above. Another stated, opposing a driver sovereignty society represents a movement of pedestrian awakening, a significant campaign for national rescue. The 21st century's paramount awakening is the pedestrians, humanity's, realization against a driver-dominant society. Last October, in the run-up to the CCP's 20th National Congress, Peng Lifa, a solitary dissenter, displayed banners on Beijing's North 3rd Ring Road Sidong Bridge and ignited a signal fire in protest against the CCP's pandemic policies. His banners declared, "We want food, not nucleic tests. We want reform, not cultural revolution. We want freedom, not lockdown. We want votes, not a leader. We want dignity, not lies. We are citizens, not slaves. Strike from school, work, remove dictator and national traitor Xi Jinping." He was subsequently arrested. The next month saw the White Paper Revolution, marking the first major civil protest movement in China since the Tiananmen Square demonstrations of 1989. CCP's call to buy houses now or regret for 5 years met with mockery. China's real estate industry is on the verge of collapse, and housing prices and home purchase rates continue to fall. In order to promote the housing market, the Central Bank of China lowered the loan benchmark interest rate, LPR, again after 8 months. On February 20, the latest loan market quotation rate was released, with the 5-year LPR lowered to 3.95%, previously 4.20%, but the 1-year LPR was still 3.45%. Many experts within Beijing's system said that before the interest rate cut, the LPR was already at a historically low level. This 5-year LPR has been lowered by 25 basis points again, which is unprecedented, and they called on the public to actively buy houses. On that day, the entry experts claimed that not buying a house now will result in wasted effort in 5 years became a hot surge topic. Many experts said that lowering the mid to long-term LPR benchmark interest rate will help reduce residents' pressure to purchase real estate and repay existing mortgage loans and promote consumption in the housing market. For example, the calculation is based on a commercial loan limit of 1 million yuan, nearly $140,000, a loan period of 30 years, and equal principal and interest repayments. This time the LPR has dropped by 25 basis points, the monthly payment has been reduced by approximately 145 yuan, and the cumulative monthly payment has been reduced by 52,000 yuan, about $7,233, over 30 years. Zhang Dawei, chief analyst of Centaline Real Estate, said bluntly that the 5-year interest rate cut this time is to stabilize the property market. Stabilizing the property market can better stabilize the economy. However, the statement of not buying a house now will result in wasted effort in 5 years, which triggered ridicule from the vast majority of Chinese netizens, such as if you don't buy a house now, you will be busy for 5 years. If you buy a house now, you will be busy for a lifetime. You started tricking me into buying a house again, right? Housing market continues to plunge. Recently, we've highlighted how the COVID-19 pandemic has led to significant income loss and joblessness among many in China, prompting a shift away from home purchases. This change in behavior marks the beginning of the burst for China's previously inflated real estate bubble. On January 17, data released by the National Bureau of Statistics of China showed that the price of new housing in December last year hit the largest decline since February 2015. New home prices fell 0.4% in December, the fastest decline in 9 months. This is the 7th consecutive month of decline. In the second-hand housing market, house prices in 71st, second and third-tier cities all fell for the 7th consecutive month compared with the same period last year. Fidelity, a well-known investment company, believes that China's current housing prices need to fall by 80% to reach a level that ordinary people can afford. However, the decline in housing prices is a terrible thing for the Chinese government and real estate developers. Sun Hongbin, chairman of real estate company Sunac China, said that if house prices fall by more than 30%, almost all real estate companies will go bankrupt, which will also have a huge negative impact on the economy and government finances. Seawater rice mixed with freshwater, CCP's diverse agricultural frauds. The Chinese Communist Party's media recently exposed a spate of fraud in agricultural research, such as tampering with seawater rice by mixing in freshwater and relocating rice before harvest to inflate yield figures, perpetuating a cycle of fake achievements. In its New Year edition, Half Moon Talk shed light on these malpractices. It revealed how yields per mu equals to 0.165 acres could magically jump from 1,200 kilograms one day to 1,300 the next, with each claim outdoing the last in a race of escalating fabrications. For example, a North Chinese agricultural firm manipulated an experiment by spacing out rice seeds unusually far apart. In a covert operation days before harvest, rice of the same variety but grown elsewhere was transferred to the test field, artificially boosting the yield. Furthermore, some went as far as hiding harvested grains in various places, sneakily mixing them in during yield assessments. The cultivation of seawater rice also saw cheating, with some ignoring strict guidelines on freshwater use and barrier application, leading to implausibly high yield results that were hard to dispute due to the non-reproducibility of the experiments in the short term. Another deceit involved giant rice, where some reported the total biomass including straw and leaves, masking the low actual grain yield. Yield measurement, once a cornerstone of agricultural research, has been hijacked for marketing, securing funds, and gaining popularity. Some companies, driven by the allure of quick profits, resort to falsifying results to attract research funding, while certain local governments turn a blind eye, making test fields hotbeds of fraud. This exposure has sparked heated debates on social media, reminiscent of the CCP's 1960s exaggeration craze. Netizens have sarcastically questioned whether claims of yields over 10,000 caddies per mu were next, hinting at a repetitive cycle of history. Jokes about the feasibility of taking photos atop rice plants underscore the skepticism and reflective criticism these revelations have stirred. The once heavily promoted claims of extraordinary yields and the possibility of photographing oneself standing on rice have been debunked as mere fabrications, highlighting a lesson seemingly ignored by history: that deceit eventually comes to light. CCP escalates provocation again, mandatory inspection of Taiwanese cruise ship sparks controversy. The CCP's hostilities towards Taiwan have escalated once more. On the afternoon of February 19, a Taiwanese cruise, the Jiangsu cruise from Kinmen, with 34 people aboard, was forcefully boarded for inspection by the CCP's Coast Guard, causing distress among the tourists and sparking a heated debate. At 3:30 p.m., the cruise departed for a tour from Kinmen Shuitu Pier. By 4:47 p.m., Taiwan's Coast Guard identified two CCP vessels near Wushao Point, Greater Kinmen, boarding the cruise. A Taiwanese patrol was dispatched swiftly for intervention. During the inspection, 6 CCP officers scrutinized the vessel's navigation plans, ship certificates, and the licenses of the captain and crew, as well as the captain's signature, with the inspection lasting roughly 30 minutes. Affected Taiwanese tourists later voiced their shock at the CCP Coast Guard's actions, worried they might not be able to return to Taiwan. Upon the Taiwan Coast Guard patrol boat's arrival, it escorted the Kinmen Jiangsu cruise safely back to the Kinmen Pier. Kinmen is the closest Taiwanese island to the Chinese mainland. The Kinmen Jiangsu cruise operates locally for sightseeing in Kinmen, similar to tourist boats from the mainland side. In light of the forced inspection by the CCP Coast Guard, the Taiwan Coast Guard Administration asserted that its ships never board vessels that mistakenly enter our waters without malicious intent, preferring to use broadcast messages to kindly prompt their departure. It appealed to Beijing to act with peace and reason to preserve calm in the Kinmen-Xiamen maritime zone. The Coast Guard also advised locals to avoid mainland-adjacent waters for their safety. The Maritime and Port Bureau criticized the CCP's inspection approach as atypical, urging vessels to refuse unauthorized CCP inspections and report them. Before this event, on February 14, a mainland Chinese speedboat fishing in a restricted area near Kinmen refused inspection by a Taiwan Coast Guard vessel and capsized while fleeing, resulting in 4 individuals overboard, 2 of whom were rescued and 2 drowned. The CCP exploited this incident to fan nationalist emotions, escalating cross-strait tensions. On February 18, Gan Yu, a spokesperson for the CCP Coast Guard Bureau, declared that the Fujian Coast Guard Bureau would enhance maritime law enforcement and initiate normalized law enforcement patrols in the Xiamen-Kinmen maritime area. The forced inspection of a Taiwanese cruise by the CCP Coast Guard happened the following day, seen by observers as further evidence of the CCP's rising provocations against Taiwan. Let us know your thoughts on today's topic by leaving a comment below. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend. It inspires us to continue creating more quality and reliable content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting insights from China Truths. Thanks for tuning in.